Welcome, everyone, to Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. I am the aforementioned Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Hi. You got to break out the seersucker at some point. I mean, it's been like 100-degree days out in the West Coast for some time now, for a couple weeks. And I thought, well, I'll wait for the East Coast to catch up, although it has been pretty warm in the East Coast. A couple weeks ago, there were some warm weather days, but it's coming now. It's coming now. New York City, DC, start seeing the outside reporters, the field reporters out there like wearing nothing. That always used to be a telltale sign of how hot it was, right? In Washington, D.C. I worked in Washington, D.C. See the street reporters out there, the women with their sleeveless and not topless, sleeveless. The men jacketless, right? Not shirtless, but, showing shirt and tie maybe. For me, that means I wouldn't go jacketless, although I have been jacketless at times. I go with the seersucker. You got to bring out the seersucker. So out comes the seersucker, and of course, if I'm out with the seersucker, I've got to go wide. I can't do I can't do this look, right? With I can't change it in midstream. I can't go with the the mobile phone look. I got to go with the wide look. So definitely showing off the seersucker. Seersucker is not a thing that they wear in California, although the late Senator Dianne Feinstein is known for getting all the female senators in the U.S. Senate to don seersucker jackets in a show of force, right? She had them all in seersucker coats. This is not to honor Feinstein, it's just to honor the weather. It's hot. I'm in my closet. Okay, anyway. So welcome to the show. A lot to talk about. Yesterday was Philippine Independence Day. If you missed that show 698, go back to YouTube, Emil Amok 1. Go back on Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media, or Twitter or X @Emil Amok, and watch 698. I'll tell you about the importance of June 12th. It was also the 8th year after the Pulse nightclub shooting. And, I like to go to the Orlando Fringe Festival. It's one of the best fringe festivals in the country. Not the largest in North America. Some in Canada are larger. But it is maybe the premier theater festival of its kind, the Orlando Fringe Festival. And I was there just a couple years after the Pulse nightclub incident happened, and I wrote about it. And today it's hard to believe it's been 8 years, and it's the 12th, June 12th. So today's the 13th, and so today's papers, the Orlando Sentinel, talked about what they're doing in Orlando, trying to remember the shooting with a monument. Tough to do. They got to raise funds, repurpose the building. I think they're tearing down the building, putting up a monument. You recall the big, almost the sign, the big structure they had in front of the nightclub that said Pulse. And I wrote about it about 6 years ago, 2 years after. Still a lot of memories about the 49 people who died. So we'll go over that. Also talk about the big law, or the big news from the Supreme Court. It's not the news. They haven't become suddenly pro-choice, but they give the look of being reasonable. and I'll explain the abortion bill appeal upholding by the Supreme Court and how it's not. It's a big deal for now, but it's not really. The court hasn't gone radically left and reversed itself on abortion. It just ruled on a procedural matter that makes them look reasonable, which, as we know, is hard for the Supreme Court to do, considering some of the extracurricular activities of some of the judges and some of their recent rulings because of the conservative stacking of the court. But it's interesting because it gives the appearance that maybe the Supreme Court is reasonable. They're not. They're not that reasonable. They just said, give us another case. We'll rule for you. This is a bad case, which is the way they should do it, right? But this gives them the excuse to say, hey, look, we're going to deny this. 9-0. Unanimous. Oh, is there a breakthrough in the court? No, there was not a breakthrough in the court. They just had a bad case and said, not now. We're not going to rule on against mifepristone now, the abortion bill now. But it doesn't mean they're not going to rule on it later. That's the key takeaway there. So we'll get more into that. Also want to talk about an interesting article about low information voters. And I talked about it yesterday in the show. But there really is something about low information voters. And there was a column in the Washington Post I'll share with you that's interesting. Talk about my dad coming up the 14th. It's a big day. It's a big day. And, you know, the thing about the 14th, I'll share with you why it's a big day. I usually like to go see a baseball game. And I would ordinarily see the baseball game on the 14th if the Giants were good. Sometimes if the Giants are bad, I'd see it. But I just don't see the reason to go see the Giants play tomorrow. I'm going to break my tradition where I'm going to say, okay, it's okay to watch the Giants on TV. I'll explain why that's important when we get to that segment. So we got a full show. We got a full show for you today. I come on at 2 p.m. Pacific Live to talk about things and to talk about how I'm feeling, how you're feeling, what's in the news. As a former news guy, I mean, you know, it's what I do. This is what I do. But one of the other things I do is I also do comedy. Oh, that's funny. You mentioned comedy, Emil. It's not really readily apparent from the last 3 minutes, or maybe the last 5. But no, I do comedy. I go to comedy clubs. I was at a comedy club last night. Did my 5, maybe it was 6. I'm sorry. I went the light. I didn't see the light. I was the last guy to go up, or second to last. But it was a good set, and I'm preparing for the Tacoma Comedy Club's World Series of Comedy. It's a satellite of the World Series of Comedy. Clubs around the country pick 40 comics to get together and compete, and then they select 3 who will compete at the World Series of Comedy in September in Las Vegas. So this is a kind of satellite playoff. I got to go up there. It's fun. I get to meet the club owners. They get to see what I do, and they say, hey, maybe we'll book this guy sometime, once or twice a year. I like Tacoma. I like the Seattle area. But if you'd like to see me compete, I'm competing on June 19th, on Wednesday. And if you want to go, here's how you go. How you can get heavily discounted tickets if you're in the Tacoma area. They won't be heavily discounted if you have to fly to Tacoma, but they're heavily discounted. You go to VIPTicketHub.com, VIPTicketHub.com, and then you pick the Tacoma satellite at VIPTicketHub.com, and suddenly these $30 tickets will be essentially a little more than half price. So go to VIPTicketHub.com, select the satellite, June 19th, Tacoma Comedy Club, and then they'll ask for a ticket code. And here's the key. Say the ticket code is GIVE, G-I-V-E. That's a ticket code, G-I-V-E. Use the ticket code. It'll tell you what to do. You buy your ticket, and the ticket will be heavily discounted from the $30. So that's if you want to see me live, okay, on June 19th. I do a 5-minute set. If I get out of that playoff, then I go to a performance on Thursday and Friday. If I keep going on, there's the finals on Saturday. Get tickets all 3 days, 1 day, whatever, but guaranteed Wednesday, June 19th. Go to VIPTicketHub.com, put in the code GIVE, G-I-V-E, get your heavily discounted live ticket, and come see me. Now, what if you say, Emil, I'd like to see you do the World Series of Comedy satellite show in Tacoma on June 19th, but you know, I'm in Hawaii, or I'm in the Philippines, or I'm in New York, or Florida, wherever. Here's what you do. You go to VIPTicketHub.com, select the satellite, June 19th, Tacoma Comedy Club, and pick the live stream. When they ask if someone referred you, just put down my name, or, you know, follow the prompts. And then enter the show that you'd like to stream. And so put down Tacoma Satellite. It should be fairly self-explanatory. And then you buy the live stream. You can put down any amount of money that, you know, it's essentially a donation. So put down $1. See it live stream. All right, go to VIPTicketHub.com for the event June 19th, for sure. Wednesday, I perform for sure. All right, and then here's the other thing. If you really want to get involved in this World Series of Comedy thing, go to zippyvote.com. If you go to zippyvote.com, you can vote for a live contest in Washington, in Tacoma, at the Tacoma Comedy Club. Put down the time, Wednesday, June 19th. That's when I'm performing. And then you can vote for me. And I think that's how this thing goes. Anyway, the World Series of Comedy, it's not a racket. It's not a scam. It's just an organized way of comedy competition that has been going on for a few years. And it's good experience. I've been going out to a lot of the clubs here and open mics in this area. And now this is fun. It's fun. So go to VIPTicketHub.com and get either your ticket to the live show at a heavily discounted price, or to the live stream available by donation. Okay? Do that for me, please. Please, please, please. Okay, now I got to swish out. You got to swish out. Okay, so yesterday I was at the Deaf Puppy Comedy Club in Manteca. I did a thing about Philippine independence. And this is a real thing, Philippine independence, June 12th. And when you think about it, yeah, the Philippines established the first democracy in Asia. They kicked out the Spanish. But the kicker, and you could read about this on the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, aldef.org/blog, where I wrote my column about this. The kicker is that Spain didn't recognize the Philippines, neither did the U.S., but they were there. And so essentially, the Philippines kicked out the Spanish so they could be colonized by the U.S., and then that started in 1899, the Philippine-U.S. War, also called the Philippine Insurrection. It depends on if you like the Philippines or if you don't. If you like the Philippines, you'll call it the Philippine-U.S. War. But even if you don't like the Philippines, you'll call them insurrectionists, right? or if you don't like them, you call them insurrectionists. But even if you do like them, maybe you'll be proud to say, yeah, those are insurrectionists that are worth backing. Those who fought in 1899. So I honored them. I banged my gong at the Deaf Puppy Comedy Club in Manteca. And people got it. They said, yeah, June 12th, we get it. We get it. Pass the balut. No, they didn't say that. They wouldn't say pass the balut. But that would be a very Filipino thing to eat. You know, not like, caldereta or all the other Spanish type of foods in the Philippine diet. Something like balut, which is a fertilized duck egg with an actual fetus, is something you would eat. Except me, I'm vegan. I would eat the fake balut. I would eat the fake balut made of tofu, and everything would be square. It would be. So talking about fertilized duck eggs, we go to the main story today, which is about mifepristone, the abortion bill. That's why they call it the abortion bill, because it's hard to say sometimes. But what you need to know about this is basically that the abortion pill is still available. People who want the fight are going to continue to fight. Who want the mifepristone ban are going to continue to fight it. All the court did by setting back the suit that came before them is to say this is a bad plaintiff. You got anti-abortion doctors who don't do abortions, who are upset filing this suit. The Supreme Court was certainly coming to its senses, saying, why is this suit being filed? So the Supreme Court used these raving anti-abortion doctors and their suit to make themselves look reasonable. To say, hey, look, those guys are crazy. They don't have standing, as they call it in the law. They don't have standing. I'm throwing it out, or we're throwing it out. It was 9-0. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, because it shows that, hey, the Supreme Court, they're not racist and bigoted and conservative and anti-woman and homophobic. No. They're reasonable. They can be reasonable. That's what the mifepristone ruling suggests, that if you're going to sue, and you're going to sue in this sort of discriminatory, anti-woman, misogynistic way, well, then you better cross your T's and dot your I's. You better get the process right. Because this was a process ruling. It wasn't on the merits of the abortion pill or abortion. It was, did you fill out the right form? And suddenly, this is sort of like the Hunter Biden thing. Did he fill out the form right? Did it process? This is process. So it's a temporary victory for pro-abortion people. It's a temporary setback for anti-abortion people. But I assure you, someone who is so anal, because you got to be anal to fill out all the forms and get everything right and present it to the Supreme Court, the right plaintiffs with standing, I think we'd have a different ruling by the court. I think we'd have a different ruling. So this is a slight respite and a way for us to figure out what's the best way to restore, women's reproductive rights in our country. Well, the best way is to vote for the right people who vote for the right judges and won't give our country a Supreme Court with 6 conservative judges. That's the best way. But you just should be aware that this is what's going on with the abortion pill. Still available, but the fight's not over. The anti-abortionists are going to fight, and the court the court's opinion on abortion is probably still the same. This was not an opinion on abortion. It was an opinion on process, opinion on standing. And I think they're reserving their right to vote against abortion down the road. So, what else is going on? All right, so I want to talk about the Pulse nightclub because I was sad by the story, and sad by the story. 49 people dead. Still, the Orlando Sentinel, the big paper down there, headlined 8 years later, Orlando remembers Pulse. Family survivors honor 49 victims who died in mass shooting at nightclub. Sad. They had a Pulse remembrance ceremony down there. Went down to cemetery, had a mass, or not a mass, a service at the First United Methodist Church. And it was just a sad day for Orlando. It should have been a sadder day for all of America, but we know that at the time, the Pulse nightclub, with 49 people killed, was the deadliest shooting on U.S. soil. Now it's just one, which is really the sad thing, to be one of the deadliest shootings. 49, like, there's more. It's worse. Yes, it's worse. This is America. It's much worse. So that's kind of the thing that we need to understand. I remember being there in 2018, 2 years after, and it said, there's this large sign that says Pulse. Let me see if I can share it with you, because this is what I saw. It was Memorial Day. And they were just putting up artwork and putting up a wall. People were writing their memories. It was sad. It was a moving tribute. You can find that, incidentally, on the AllDef blog. Just put down alldef.org/blog, or Google Emil Guillermo Orlando Pulse ALDEF, AALDEF, and you'll see the story. But, just in 2 years, I was there in 2018. Pulse happened in 2016. But when I got there 2 years later, as I wrote in my column, we had the Las Vegas incident that became number one and overtook Orlando. And then there was Parkland, Florida, the school. And then there was the Santa Fe, Texas shooting. I think some people probably even forgotten the Santa Fe shooting. But this is gun violence. And when I was there, it was sad because, I was there originally to do my one-man show at the Orlando Fringe. And it was about the show I did, Amok Monologues, All Pucked Up. One of the stories I told was about the shooting death of my cousin Stefan, because that was raw in my life. 2014. So 4 years, 2018, I'm telling the story. It's sad. It's a sad story because my cousin, if you're familiar with me talking about it, was drunk, went to his apartment. He thought it was his apartment. It turned out to be different floor, wrong apartment. He got in, and once he crossed the threshold, the law says anyone on the other side with a gun can shoot to kill, because an intruder is an intruder, and the law looks favorably on a person defending his or her home with a gun. That's the law. It's a senseless gun gun death because my cousin wasn't an intruder. He was mistaken about where he was. But this goes to show you that whether it's one death or 49 dead, 49 dead, 53 injured, as happened at Pulse nightclub in 2016. Gun violence is real. It affects us all. And what have we done? What have we done since Pulse? Since 2016. 8 years later. We've remembered the dead. We're talking about, the most substantial thing may be how the community in Orlando is getting together and putting up a monument to honor the 49 who lost their lives. But what is being done to change our laws to make sure that this doesn't happen again? There's some reports out, some investigative reports just released this week that said, hey, people knew the shooter was under investigation by the FBI. People knew that the shooter's father was an FBI informant before the shooting. And maybe the FBI informant, the speculation is, that maybe the FBI they didn't go as hard at first because they were protecting the informant. There are a lot of things that are in the investigation that weren't originally shared, ultimately were shared. So there's one podcaster, I think it's on Audible, that talks about Pulse and talks about the FBI and the suggestion that maybe the FBI should have done more if they knew that the shooter was violent. Why can't they do something more before? Here's the artwork at the memorial. You wouldn't necessarily think this because let's see, let me make this smaller. Oop. Can I do it this way? No, not that way. I was trying to make the artwork. Well, I guess this is the best I could do. But, considering how homophobic Florida is, it's amazing how strong and resilient the Orlando community has been throughout all this. And it's not just a gay thing, although there were the Pulse was a gay nightclub, but it was Hispanic night and there was a mix. It wasn't all like exclusively gay. And from some reports that I've seen subsequent, it wasn't necessarily a homophobic shooting, although it did take place in a primarily gay bar, Pulse. But there are just a lot of young people in Orlando having fun. And just my experience with Orlando, having been part of the Fringe and, just going about the city and getting to know local artists. For such a homophobic state, they have a thriving community that is, all inclusive. It's not just cisgender, not just, gay, LGBTQ. They've got a real united community. I'm glad to see them after 8 years. The city has bought the old club and they're going to do something with that building and they're going to do something with the monument. They know how important this is for Orlando. And it's something to have been there and know that, Orlando's a destination because of Disney, right? But Disney is like so far removed. It's like maybe 20 miles to the south. all the attractions, as people say. The heart and soul of the city is around where the Fringe took place. Lock Haven Park, the downtown area, and it makes Orlando feel like a big city, but also a small city. It almost makes Orlando feel ideal, like you can get things done there. Like a grassroots effort. People can get things done because it's not too big. It's not like a megapolis. That was a feeling I got. And of course, when that's true with the politics and policy matters of town, it's true with everything else in life. It's easy to get around. The traffic, people complain about traffic in Orlando, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you haven't been to New York in the last year. You haven't been to San Francisco, LA. That's traffic. I think I said when I came back from Orlando that Orlando is like a city that's built for the next 30, 40 years and, to grow into itself. Now's a good time. And so I'm happy to report on what's going on in Orlando 8 years after Pulse. 49 people dead, mass shooting. I'm sad to say, though, that nothing has been done nationally to make sure something like that never happens again. So, all right, we talk about Independence Day. Eat balut, I said. Of course, that angers all my vegan friends. I'm vegan. All right, so don't eat a real balut, a fertilized duck egg with the fetus showing, the hairy legs. Don't eat the tofu version. Eat the fake balut. Get in the spirit. Philippine Independence Day, because that's real Filipino food. Not the caldereta and the Spanishy paella type dishes. Which is kind of the curse of the Philippines. It's really the curse of any country that had Spanish colonialism, because Spanish cuisine is it's nice, but it's the French, on the other hand. This is where the Vietnamese. Thank goodness they were colonized by the French, because they got classy cuisine in Vietnam. Philippines, Spanish. The best the Philippines that I can come up with is eat your fertilized duck eggs. That's like indigenous. That's like non-colonial. That's a non-colonial food. And if you're vegan, eat the tofu version. All right, so I wanted to share this column that I found because it just struck me as real. Aaron Blake writes for the Washington Post. And I've been talking about how, we've been waiting to see what's going to happen with all the polls, right? Trump's convicted 34 times. Oh my God, 34 times. It's got to make a difference. No, it's not. It's not making a difference. They've come out with some new polls, and the new polls say, people aren't paying attention. They worry if they look fat in their swimsuit, not if they look small in their democracy. It's just not an issue. Just not an issue. So Aaron Blake kind of hit it. He said, welcome to the campaign moment, your guide to the biggest developments in the 2024 election, where convictions matter. Voters' convictions, at least. I'm sorry to say this, dear reader, but you will not be deciding the 2024 election. Now that's pretty, for news junkies, that's like oh my God. Look, I mean, who else is reading the Washington Post when they don't live in Washington? But news junkies, right? He says, you're not going, if you read this, you're not going to be deciding the election. That's not a reflection on you personally. Aaron Blake says, I value your readership dearly, nor am I diminishing the power of your vote. He wants you to vote. We should all vote. He says, it's just a fact of the matter that people reading campaign politics newsletters in June 2024 are not generally the ones who will be on the fence and making crucial calls late in the campaign. And that is the eye-opener. If you're reading about politics now, you are sick. You should be taking off your clothes and going out to the beach and having fun. And you should be like all the other low information voters out there and saying, hey, America, we're not in any trouble. Heck with it. But, we have to, right? We're cursed. We're news people. We're political people. We're interested in that. We're interested in our government, our country. Blake writes, the decisive voters are going to be those who have little to no idea what you and I have been talking about for the past 5 months, quite literally. That's an important lesson as we begin to see major developments that could creep into the consciousness of casual voters. Events like the convictions of Donald Trump 2 weeks ago and Hunter Biden on Tuesday, as well as the first presidential debate in about 2 weeks. In other words, those of us who are so into, that trial, so into Hunter, I wasn't into Hunter Biden, but it is important. So into the news. We're not the ones who are going to make things matter in November. It makes what would appear to be a very stagnant 2024 race more unpredictable than we might realize. That's what Aaron Blake says. He says, a recent poll really drove this home. It came from Yahoo News and YouGov, and it asked people a series of basic questions about what's happening in politics right now. Among those questions, as far as you know, which of the following things has Donald Trump been indicted for? Indicted, not convicted. Only about half of Americans agreed Trump had been indicted for the subjects of his 3 remaining indictments. Half. It's a coin flip. We live in a coin flip democracy. Just 55% agreed he had been indicted for taking highly classified documents and obstructing efforts to return them. And just less than half agreed Trump had been indicted for his attempt to overturn the 2020 election, as he has both federally and in Georgia. So it's really halvesies, right? We got a half-life democracy. 50% know and 50% don't know. Many said they weren't sure, but 16 to 21% said affirmatively that Trump had not been indicted for those things. These things that he has, in fact, been indicted for. 16 to a quarter, or maybe 20%, a fifth of the public don't care. They don't know. So you can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one of you in a group of 5 is totally like, what did you say? Politics? Democracy? America? Trump indicted? What? It's worth applying some skepticism to these numbers, says Blake. Republicans were the most likely to answer these questions wrongly. Wow. What does that say? More likely to be wrong, Republicans, because they just have the wrong news sources, right? They have news sources that are just flat out wrong. Remarkably, nearly as many said Trump had not been indicted for trying to overturn the election. 34% as said he had. 35%. So it's like, it's this mix. 35%, oh yeah, he was indicted. And 34%, no, he wasn't indicted. This is what you call the low information voter. And we're trying to get people organized to vote, to democracy, to pick a leader for, really, it's kind of not very smart, not a very smart country. Some of that could reflect a lack of paying attention or a media diet focus on outlets that simply don't pay as much attention to these things. Like, they're watching ESPN, or they're watching the Cartoon Network or the Food Network. More likely, they're watching Fox News and not getting the other side, which is the fault of journalism, that journalism has essentially siloed itself off into different places, and you can have different news for your taste, which isn't news. It's kind of like a selective journalism, kind of selective lying. It's not lying, it's more like a selectivity, sort of like church and news, the same. I mean, because you can go to one church and they'll tell you one thing, go to another church, they'll tell you another thing. Basically, they tell you the same thing. Be good, you go to what one calls heaven, what one calls an afterlife, what one calls nirvana, or whatever. But it really is, journalism has become like religion. You go to the church of your choice, and then we'll meet later at the donut shop. I don't know. It's eerie. So Blake says, it's hardly the only evidence that many voters simply haven't engaged with the 2024 campaign on the most basic of levels. And he goes into these areas I think are interesting. 1 in 5 voters in the Yahoo YouGov survey said either that they didn't know about Trump's Manhattan verdict, that Trump was not guilty, or that the trial was ongoing. That includes 2 out of every 5 registered voters under the age of 30. Now, you want to know why young people, when polled, tend to vote for Trump? Because they don't know. They don't know. They're not paying attention. A majority of independents have said they've heard only a little or nothing at all. A majority of independents, according to the Marquette University Law School polling. Just 1 in 5 voters in May Reuters Ipsos poll said they were familiar with Trump having said that purported voter fraud in the 2020 election allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, articles, even those found in the Constitution. That's a pretty big statement that Trump said. Once again, only 1 in 5 got that. Republicans especially will often tell pollsters things about Donald Trump and his legal problems that are just simply wrong. This is, sad. Now, I read this because we're going to hear about low information voter. Because my contention is that you split up the electorate 45-45, 90%. And you got the 45 who hate Trump, love democracy, and will vote for Biden. And you got the 45 who love Trump, democracy, but they want Trump as a leader. So they're at loggerheads, 45-45. It leaves 10% in the middle to vote for independence or to be somewhat dim-witted until they're ready to turn the lights on. Maybe in October. And here's the thing. We're getting our first debate in a couple weeks, June 27th, which to me suggests maybe some people will be paying attention, or maybe it really suggests that Biden, wants to bury Trump right away. if he can show that he is so much better than Trump, or vice versa, they want to put the other guy away. Maybe to the point where the Democrats say, oh, you didn't look good against Trump, we got to get rid of you. Or, hey, you look so good against Trump, we're going to keep you, and we're going to, well, hopefully no one relaxes. You saw what happened to the Celtics last night. They nearly blew it. Anyway, the low information voter. It's unfortunate that we have all these things coming up, happening now, that are worth talking about. The trials, Hunter Biden, Trump's trial in New York, we got the debate, and no one seems to be paying attention. No one. Which means all of us who are paying attention and are really trying to make some sense out of this are more worried than ever. It's true. We are. I know what's going to happen. I haven't thought about moving to Canada. I don't want to move to Canada. They have bad hockey teams up there. Florida and Las Vegas always beats Canada in hockey. What's the deal? I'm not moving to Canada. I mentioned the Celtics. I didn't watch the Celtics game because I was doing a comedy last night, and but I saw a little bit about it and saw people talk about it. And a friend of mine who is in Ottawa for the Fringe Festival in Canada was texting me saying, the Celtics nearly blew it. And I'm not really a Celtic fan. Golden State Warriors. I don't like the Celtics. I don't like what the Celtics did. The Celtics have an unfair team. They've got all these great players. They're stacked. They're deep. And, the Mavs only have Luka Doncic and a Kyrie Irving who is, I don't know what's wrong with Kyrie Irving, but he's not the same. But it looks like the Celtics will win because no one comes back from 3-0. No one comes back from 3-0. Not in basketball. I don't know what's going to happen. I guess I'll watch it. Today, I'm going to watch. I got my WNBA app, so I'm going to watch Caitlin Clark because, you got to find out what that's all about. I have always watched the WNBA. I love those black athletes. Some of them come from California, played for Stanford, played for St. Mary's High School in Stockton. I just found out that Chelsea Gray is hurt for the Las Vegas Aces. She hasn't been playing. They've got some good players. Asia Wilson is good. I know. I love the WNBA. But, I have to admit that it wasn't like, I'd see it if it comes up. I'd see it if it was like the only thing on. But now with Caitlin Clark, people are paying attention for a lot of different reasons. A lot of them are saying, hey, this is the great white hope. And it's unfair to black players. The black players have always been dominant. It shows racism. Or maybe this shows racism toward Caitlin Clark. I don't know. Some people think that. And then because she's getting punked. And yeah, she needs to be tough, but she's getting punked. I don't know why there should be any kind of jealousy or animosity toward her, but there is. It's kind of interesting. It's something new on the culture war horizon. Anyway, WNBA, Indiana's playing against another team. But, you just want to see, let's see if Caitlin Clark gets harassed. Let's see if it's fair. People are watching. She's the catalyst. Caitlin Clark. All right, finally on the sports scene, I want to talk about my dad. We went to a baseball game on June 14th. And this is the irony of ironies. June 14th is Flag Day. It is Donald Trump's birthday. And it's the day my father died. How's that for a trifecta? Yeah. And it leads into this massive weekend, Father's Day on the 16th. It's a big time. And then also it coincides with when Harvard had graduation in June. Things would be pushed back like to this first or second week of June. Now they've moved it up to May. So it screws up my historical appreciation. But I think the 14th was my graduation day. I think. Or it was that week. June 10th was the day that I gave the big speech that I talk about in my show. But anyway, June 14th, because I went to a baseball game with my dad. We went to a game. The Giants won. We were so happy. We went home, and then my father died. That's what happened. And because of that, I always want to go see baseball on June 14th. I kind of would like to go. The Giants are in town. They're playing the Angels, which not a great team. They don't have Shohei anymore. He went up the road to play with the Dodgers. They do have Mike Trout, or maybe Mike Trout's hurt. The Giants there's some rumors around saying, hey, the Giants should go after Mike Trout. They need a good baseball player. They don't have any. So it might be interesting to go to the game, but I have come to this phase in my life where it's easier and more, and maybe it was COVID. It's easier just to watch things on TV. You don't have to be there live, which is a bad trend because it's important to be there live. And every time I perform at a club, like I did last night at the Deaf Puppy Comedy Club in Manteca, I realize there's something special about live. There's something special about being in a room with 30 to 40 people and making them laugh and hearing those laughs come back. That's something special. Same way as being in the Orlando Fringe and being in a theater with 70, 80, 100 people and telling jokes or telling stories and touching them and having them respond. There's something great about that. Live performance. But I'm just being sentimental, when I go see a baseball game on the 14th. So I may just watch the Giants. I will be watching. And then tomorrow I'll talk about it. It's about fathers. It's about, my dad. And now it's been a while. Almost over 45 years. I should have learned something by now, right? I should. I think. I'll explore tomorrow. In the meantime, the World Series of Comedy. Hey, you want to go see the World Series of Comedy, right? I mean, I'm going to be in it, the Satellite in Tacoma, Washington. And it's easy to get a ticket to the Tacoma Comedy Club, 6th and Proctor. Go to VIPTicketHub.com. VIPTicketHub.com. Go there, pick out in-person tickets or live stream, and follow the prompts. If you're asked for a code, the code is GIVE, G-I-V-E, G-I-V-E. And then pick out the show. The $30 ticket will be heavily discounted with the code word GIVE, and then you can see me live if you happen to be in Tacoma, Wednesday, June 19th. That's when I'll be there. Now, you say, oh, Emil, I ain't going to Tacoma for you. I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Florida. I'm in Massachusetts. So go to that same website, VIPTicketHub.com. VIP ticket, TICKET, hub, VIPTicketHub.com, and then pick live stream. And then the live streams are donations. So what you can do is you can just tell how much you want to donate, and then you get a ticket to the live stream. See, it's easy. You can put down a meal's worth $1 on a Wednesday night, 50 cents, but they don't give you that option. No, $1. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how much they give you, but put it down. Go see me live. Here's how it works. If I get through Wednesday at 7:30, I think it is, then I qualify for Thursday or Friday. If I get out of those, then I qualify for Saturday. And if I'm in the top 3 on Saturday, then I get to actually compete in the World Series of Comedy in September in Las Vegas. I break out of the satellite, out of the playoffs, and I go in for the World Series of Comedy in September. It's fun. It's a way to meet club owners, network with other comics, see how they do or don't make money, see how they do or don't do comedy. Comedy is a very personal thing. I started it late in life because I am foolish, but it's fun, I have to admit. And because I started doing these one-man shows, and the one-man shows are perfect for me, but you can't always do a one-man show each and every week. You can do comedy each and every week. 5-minute shows, 20-minute shows, 30-minute shows, an hour. Well, if you're lucky, you get 45 minutes, you get to be a headliner. But so far, comedy has been a good thing after the Orlando Fringe for me. So this is what I'm doing. Check it out. Go to VIPTicketHub.com and either buy a live ticket for Tacoma, the Tacoma Comedy Club, Wednesday the 19th, or see it live streamed. Get a heavily discounted ticket if you use the code word GIVE. Heavily discounted. Go see it live. And if you pick the live stream, you can put any amount, and it's basically a donation out of the goodness of your heart. The goodness of your heart. Yeah, check it out. That's our show for today. Hey, thank you for joining us. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Live. You know it's hot when I'm wearing seersucker. It is hot. It's seersucker day. Thank you for being here with me. I like to meditate. I like to close with a little meditation because meditation makes the world go round. Meditation. Yeah. You show the love. You give the love. It comes right back. You just don't care about, you let the bad things pass through. It really is about being good with everything. And the only way you can be good with everything is by showing love to everything. Sounds corny, but if you don't have a preference, you say, I prefer this, I like the good instead of the bad. If you take it all, you can let things pass, you don't store things inside, and you could remain pure and spiritual for the good things that you experience in your life. It just happens. Staying in the moment, not dwelling in the past, concentrating on what's inside and not what's outside. It works. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Hey, until next time, check it out. YouTube, at Emil Amok 1. Facebook, fb.com, at emilguillermo.media or Emil Guillermo. X, formerly known as Twitter, at Emil Amok, or amok.com. Just go to amok.com. Figure out where to get in touch, where to do anything. And VIPTicketHub.com. VIPTicketHub.com for the World Series of Comedy. June 19th, Tacoma Comedy Club. All right. Emil Guillermo here. Emil Amok to you. Till next time.